Greetings and salutations, my podcast listeners, and welcome back to the SofaBros podcast, the only place where dead man tells no tales. And I don't even know where to start. I don't know how to even begin. We are here. We are 30 weeks in the making, 30 years in the making, but we have finally gotten ourselves to the best of 30 years tournament round one. Round one, my friends, not the preliminaries, not a year. We're not covering 2009. We're not covering 1993. No, friends, we have gotten all of our picks. The three of us have chosen. We have finally gotten to round one, and today is going to be one of my favorite episodes of this podcast to date. Guys, are you ready? There's no best of the year. There's no worst of the year. We're not even talking about any of that. We're just going straight into it. Round one of the best of the cinema 30 years tournament is the number one seed Parasite by Bong Joon-ho versus the number 32 seed, Lords of Dogtown by Catherine Hardwick. So, guys, how do we do this? How are we gonna? Well, you guys have anything to say about these films? Is it fresh in your mind? Have you done
Um,
any rewatches? What do you?
I think that we should probably, I guess, start with talking about Lords of Dogtown. Obviously, it being the bottom of this entire tournament, the last seed, even getting beat out by our buy-in, um, and everything. So, yeah, I guess we could start talking about Lords of Dogtown. Obviously, these are two completely different films. On every single aspect of filmmaking, they are just nothing alike, and I think that it's an unfortunate matchup for a movie like this. I think this could have fared a lot better against something like even with today's matchups, this could have fared much better against like an Everything Everywhere or Good Will Hunting. They were a little bit more similar, but it got the short straw. It's the bottom seed. It is the underdog. Um, But yeah, I mean, it's a coming of age film, which obviously I've stated many times is my favorite. And um, I think that one of my favorite things about Lords of Dogtown, I would say, has to be that all three of our main characters, and even a couple side characters, they all have a path that each of them take that kind of comes full circle by the end of the movie.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more.
Yeah,
You get the Z boys. They all take their paths. Obviously, Stacy taking the straightforward, head on his shoulders, on the right track path, business mindset. Tony taking the more sex-driven, fame-driven path, and then Jay obviously falling.
rock and roll, really. Yeah.
Yeah, and then Jay obviously falling into the gangs and the drugs. Um,
Crazy.
and then they come together at the end for the love of each other and their friend Sid, which I love. It's hard to really compare these two films, but
Yeah.
I
No,
mean,
I agree. I agree.
obviously we're gonna sit here and talk about each of them individually, as well. And I mean, for me personally and my personal taste, this movie is like nearly perfect. I think there's a couple cringy dialogue in Lords of Dogtown, but other than that, I think that they did a phenomenal job, and it kind of I've noticed over the last like I'd say 2 years, it's kind of gets better the more I rewatch it as I'm older, compared to when I watched it uh, when I was younger and I was much more impressionable as a teenager, and it was more like a personality trait as to where now I can appreciate it more as an actual coming of age story and a lesson. Yeah, whatever you
That's
guys want to
that's
add.
very well
Any
put.
thoughts?
I thought that was extremely well put, Jacob. To your point, yeah, it's a beautiful coming of age film. I think that this is only at the bottom seed, obviously because of its rating, but because not enough people have seen it to have rated it higher. To a little fun fact that you said you've seen the growth of its rating since you joined Letterboxd, Jacob, up until now. So I think
Yep,
that's pretty
3.4,
cool.
3.6.
I think that's very cool that more people are watching it and more people are rating it higher. More people are probably rewatching it and rating it higher, and I think that's awesome. This still holds to date my favorite Heath Ledger role personally. I think his role is great, even more so
No,
because
100%.
it was accurate too. Apparently, according to a lot of the people that that had a hand in Lords of Dogtown and knew everyone personally, said that it was very accurate. So I
Like,
think it's
we lost
awesome.
a really like talent. We lost
Mm-hmm.
a
Oh,
big talent
absolutely,
with Heath Ledger.
absolutely. Um, when you said dialogue cringy, I thought back. I was like, yeah, I can see that. It also is a movie that it is shot in the early 2000s, feels kind of like it's shot in the 90s, and it takes place in what, the
70s.
70s exactly.
Yeah. And they're
So
supposed to technically be
Early
like
70s.
like teenagers and early 20s, some of them.
it's
So like
really weird.
I get it, but
And
it's
I
still
think
like
it's
so cringy to
funny to
watch.
note. It's kind of funny to note that the director of this film directed the first Twilight movie.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So you want to talk cringe? Like I think it's in her wheelhouse that she just directs these cringy coming of age movies. But it's still a great movie. I think this is a lot more easily accessible movie. Like this is a movie that I would tell people to watch more than I would tell to watch Parasite. Like I would have to personally know you
Well,
to
yeah.
watch to tell you to watch Parasite.
I
Yeah,
mean, you're
That's
not going to
like the whole
recommend
point.
a South Korean film to somebody if you
But it's
don't,
not just the
yeah. If
South
you don't think they're gonna enjoy it,
Korean
or let
aspect
them
of it.
know
It's like the
no.
story of Parasite is crazy.
yeah,
I mean,
Like
even then, Parasite kind of had a pretty big U.S. reach when it came out.
100%.
I mean,
It was very talked
I
about.
mean,
People who didn't really watch film went out of their way to watch it.
yeah, exactly.
It was
And
very,
I
very
might
talked
be
about.
wrong, but I'm like 90% sure it's like Neon's highest rated film, or sorry, not highest rated. Well, highest rated, yes, but highest earning film ever. It had like $250 million.
South Korea's highest earning film ever.
right, this was like the film that like really put Neon on the map. Like this like sweep the Oscars. Like this was all over. This movie was all over the place.
I
But
think
it's
that was
I
a
like
big deal. I
unless
think that was a big deal too because it won best international, right? And
international
best
and
picture.
Best
Yes,
Picture.
it
Yeah.
did.
And
So
I'm still
fire.
gonna say Portrait of a Lady got snubbed, but that's me. But this did sweep the Oscars. Like this was an award season big time win, and Song Kang was great with that.
Oh,
Like
absolutely.
Song Kang is one of the
I mean, hell, we might as well let's get right into it. We spoke on Lords, so we might as well speak on the number
Parasite.
one seed, the heavyweight, the fate. I guess you know by technicality the favorite in the tournament being the one seed, being the highest rated. Um, yeah. So obviously, I didn't get to rewatch it as you guys did. I've only seen it the one time that I watched it 4 to 6 months ago. But it's a movie that definitely stayed with me for a while and it lingered with me for a while. I love that in the first half it's kind of uh it's a look at themes of like classism but in like a comedic way, and then it takes this super dark and just turn, and it goes from like this lighthearted, I guess you could say dramatic, like almost like a dramedy, into a full-on thriller, and it
oh,
just
no, it was a black comedy.
yeah,
This was
and then
straight up a black
and
comedy.
just that second half turn taking a dark twist and just it still continues. I forgot there was a shot in the movie, it might have been the beginning or the end, where it is in at least how I interpreted it was is a clear look at classism. um I don't remember the shot exactly. I believe it was like when it was raining, but it basically looked at like I think it starts high and then pretty much goes low, and it shows you the difference in um the situations of the family with Song Kang Ho.
It's somewhere in that end of the first act before the family does get with the Parks. But no, yeah, there's a lot of that where
Yeah, it's very like
you
in
see them
your
like,
face.
go ahead.
No, I'm saying like it was very in your face. Like this is what it is.
Well, I mean, the second the movie starts, you literally get the two siblings, and they're like in the bathroom, like crouched together, like by the toilet, trying to get Wi-Fi. And then they
Yeah.
say, "Hey, we unlocked the Wi-Fi," and then they go around and tell their parents, like, "Oh, we got a new Wi-Fi, so let's get on the Wi-Fi." Like they're stealing their neighbor's Wi-Fi, so it's like, and they're also all folding pizza boxes together as a family, so that the mother could be able to sell the pizza boxes to that local place. Like there's a lot of it with the classism. And one of my favorite when I came back to a rewatch of it is that I didn't notice my first time was why Song Kang went berserk at the end, and it's because the Mr. Park kept mentioning that smell. He's like, the smell, like, the smell is unbearable. I can't take the smell. I can't take the smell. And then
Yeah.
when the dude finally went crazy at the end at the party, the dude's like, oh, the smell. That's when he's like, you know what? I can't take these rich people no more.
Hmm.
Eat the rich. Like, it's beautiful details, beautiful foreshadowing. Everything about this movie. It's not a near perfect movie. No, this is a perfect movie. Like, it's actually perfect. The storytelling, the acting, the way it comes full circle, even the ending. If you don't get the ending, it's impossible to tell you it. Like, you just have to understand it. This movie is perfect in every single aspect.
Yeah.
I
It's
will
just not
say
very
this.
easily accepted.
No, yeah, it's not. I will
Hmm?
say this that I do love the ending, but I think that this movie could have ended with the birthday party, and I would have still just enjoyed it just as much.
Yeah,
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
those last like 10 minutes of just the sun's.
With the son
Pretty
explaining
much, yeah.
everything,
Explain,
yeah.
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 It's like it like it doesn't bother me, but like I could have went without it, and it still would have been like a perfectly fine movie.
I
I
think
just
one of
needed it's just a whole explanation with the sign, not the sign language,
Morse
the
code.
Morse code. Once they bring out the Morse code thing and he's actually staying in the that's all I needed.
yeah.
That's what really brung it in home.
You
It's like,
could have
okay,
ended it
this
right
is
there. Hmm.
Hmm.
You could have definitely ended it right there. I think also one of the coolest shots too was when they all had to, not everyone, but everyone besides the mother, who was obviously the live-in, they had to run back to the house after the family came back early from the camping trip, and the
oh
entire
yeah.
place was flooded,
Yeah.
and the daughter still, through all of that, had the time to go up to where they found the Wi-Fi in the bathroom, that little like nook, and just like smoke the one and only cigarette that she had in her pack, and just, I thought that shit was a wild scene of like really not giving a fuck at like your absolute fucking lowest low, and thinking like, well, this is the shit I go through on like a practical everyday fucking
What's the
basis.
Tuesday
Like,
for
what's
them?
the,
Yeah.
yeah, like this is regular fucking shit here. Like,
Meanwhile, the other family's chilling in their fortress of solitude.
mm-hmm. And the mom too. Lucky bitch.
Which is also a tense scene in of itself. Like them like having
Oh,
to hide under the table while they were there. Oh my god.
Oh
That had
yeah,
while
me
they
that
were,
tripping.
was
yeah, that
wild.
was fucking wild. They were legit just, yeah, watching their son getting it on. Not, they were watching their son while he was camping, and they and themselves are getting it on with three people underneath the fucking table listening. Like, how insane is that shit?
Yeah.
My
Oh no.
god.
That's
Wild.
It's so good. It's so good. So
very well acted out.
are we ready to
But
vote this or are we just gonna
I
keep
think,
praise? We can praise all day, but
I think, I don't know if this makes sense to you guys. Do we continue on with each? Do we continue on with each matchup discussion and then vote through, or
yeah, this is all this is all one.
Well, I think we could vote like after every matchup.
vote and then, okay, and then move on to the next matchup?
I don't see any point of coming back to the matchup until we have to revisit one of these movies.
Perfect. All right.
I mean, I think it's obvious.
So the
Unless
voting order, I believe,
regardless,
I
if I
believe,
wanted to vote Lords of Dogtown, which I'm not going to, but like it would still be a 2-1 vote.
Um, yeah. So Dan,
I'm voting Parasite. There's no way.
like I thought, yeah, it's a 3-0 vote,
Yeah, no, of course.
but
It was always Parasite.
this doesn't mean we don't love you, Lords of Dogtown. Like everyone
Oh no,
said,
we don't do that. Yeah.
it's just unfair. You're both 5-star movies to me for
I
totally
think
different reasons.
yeah. I think when it comes down to it is while yes, this is a tournament based on our opinion, we still are looking at objective things objectively as well.
Or at least trying to be objective,
Yeah.
like in some way.
There's a blend. There's honestly a blend of both. There's a blend of
I would
both.
say it's very maybe 60-40.
Truly. There's just certain things you don't do and certain things you do. It all really depends on the situation. And these are one of the situations where it's like you don't vote Lords of Dogtown over Parasite because there's just no way.
It's actual wild behavior. Like it's really wild behavior, honestly.
Okay, wow. The first movie moving on. Congratulations. Hip hip hooray to Parasite. I think we all knew it was coming, but
We love to see it. And
Um,
now we are moving on to round two.
yes.
Well, round two of this first round of matchups. So I guess round one, category B, which is Gus Van Sant, Goodwill Hunting, the 16 seed, versus the Daniel 17 seed of Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Oof.
And boys, let's talk about it.
Okay. I think let's talk about Everything Everywhere All at Once first.
All right.
Rewatching this like literally 2 times over in the past like maybe 3 weeks, just because we did the 2019, no, 2022, right?
yeah.
Yeah,
That
we
was
did the
for
20
2020.
yeah, we did the 2022 wrap up pretty recently, and then I was like, I want to get double features of each round, every single round, every single time of this tournament. I'm going to be consistently rewatching all of these movies just to get fresher opinions and fresher
Back to
looks.
back double feature.
Exactly,
Yeah.
comparatively to each other. So I did that again with Everything Everywhere All at Once, and bro, this shit's just insane. When you pay attention to how much shit switches around, it's kind of insane. It's kind of insane to try to like dissect a lot of the outfit changes. First of all, how much money was spent on that? I know the budget
15
was,
million, I think.
but that's for the budget of the movie, right?
Yeah,
How
that's
It
not
was like
counting
25
marketing.
million or something like that.
how much of it was just spent on fucking like costume changes alone, bro, for all of the different universes that they would be going through in a single fucking like maybe 1 to 2 second moment in the movie. The amount of times like they would go through especially what was it, Jobu Tabaki going through a fucking outfit
Oh, when she was in
change.
the bar and she was turning her head and it was just
Bro, I
oh
was
my
like, I'm
god.
like, dude, it's so fucking wacky and insane, but just awesome to watch. I just wanted to know, like, the budget must have been wild, not only for her, but just like for everybody, because a lot of people got their own different Universal stories, especially when, oh my God, I'm blanking on Michelle's character name, but she was going up the
Evelyn?
steps. Evelyn, beautiful, thank you. She was going up the steps, like healing people's traumas in other universes, and so like,
Oh yeah.
some people that you
man.
never even saw throughout the whole movie had their own universal arc to be saved. I just thought like that was also really really cool too. This movie's like awesome in its own right, but also gives like a really solid like family message as well. You know, people are always gonna be for you. Family's always gonna be there for you no matter what. And I think that through a lot of communication, a lot of traumas can be healed or at least fixed temporarily. I believe time heals everything. So this is a movie that kind of shows that time
That is
in
easily the
every
And
greatest
that's why I
universe.
Universal
compare
movie
this
ever.
family to like the Parasite family. I say that they're like they have the same kind of dynamics of love for each other with the same with the Rick and Morty family. Like these family dynamic movies are so perfect and so close knit to my heart, especially when it's like a brother and sister that are like so close in age but bond well. Like I wish Joe Butabaki had a sibling. That's what she's really missing in this movie. There was a sibling aspect was really missing
There
with
probably
this.
wouldn't be a Jobo Tabaki if she had a sibling.
Yeah, life would have
Oh
been
no,
all
hell no.
dandy,
Able to
or at least
Somebody
much more manageable.
somebody would have been able to share some of the weight of all of these
the
problems.
trauma.
Exactly. Exactly.
The problem is she's an only child. That's what's beautiful about it. It's very relatable to only child families.
I think on when I rewatched it, I really like loved the relationship between Evelyn and Kihui Kwan's character.
Wayman.
There you go, Wayman.
Wayman,
Especially,
that was his name. Yes.
yeah. Um, especially when it was going through the different lives of them, and I definitely, got me teary-eyed when I think it was the one scene where they're like in the rain, like a suit and a dress, and she's telling him that she doesn't love him or something like that.
The
Did you
actor
guys catch that
lives.
now that we've been doing this since we've been doing the Sofa Bros? Did you catch that reference of what that is? Those two?
Uh,
Um,
they're in the rain. And I know they're like they're actors or like they're movie stars who just came
It's
out of watching
that
their own
that
premiere.
scene, that specific universe of him and her never getting together. He's in the suit. She's basically the actress.
love.
That's In the Mood for Love.
Yeah, I figured
They're
that.
both
Yeah.
pretty in the mood for love there.
Yeah, that scene definitely had me a little bit choked up.
Cute.
And Stephanie Shu definitely deserved more recognition over Jamie Lee Curtis.
She should have been the Oscar winner that year of Best Supporting Actress. It's
Yeah,
But
I don't agree about that, but
that's what I'm
I
saying.
mean, yes, like she was. I mean, I don't know, man. It's hard. Both of those performances were just.
Supporting, you don't put her performance in supporting. That's the issue. Is that it doesn't
You think it
belong
would
in
be a lead
supporting.
role? You think it would be a lead?
It's the lead fucking antagonist of the movie.
And I agree,
Absolutely.
and I agree with you. But if you do that, then she would have to go up against Michelle O, and I don't think that she takes the Oscar on
Well
that
then
one.
then she doesn't take the Oscar and she takes the L, and that's really
For
it.
running
But
up, at least the nomination. I get it. At least the nomination for
that's
lead.
why
Yeah.
it'll always be a world renowned performance, and like people will always recognize it even more so because they wanted it to have an award, but it just can't. But I don't believe it should be put in supporting. It's not a fucking supporting role in the slightest bit.
No, I'll agree with you that it's more so a lead role.
Lead antagonist.
Jobu Chewbacca.
is it though? Because Jamie Lee Curtis could be looked at as the lead antagonist too.
Absolutely not. You're just making
I
up
don't think she
words.
was the lead antagonist.
But
Like, you can't
she's
really blame an
technically
IRS agent being an
she's
antagonist.
technically the first antagonist we see, and is very concurrent
Maybe
throughout the film.
don't maybe don't scam on your taxes, and the IRS won't come after you. That's how they got Al Capone.
I'm
She
just
tried
saying.
she tried claiming a karaoke machine as a tax purpose for her business. That's wild.
Everyone
That's kind of wild.
was everyone was also a slave to Jobel Teriyaki. So I don't know why you would even think that she would be a lead antagonist with her sausage fingers
Except for Rakakuni. Rakakuni was his own man.
playing the piano with her feet. Disgusting.
Yeah, it's incredible.
The
Weird.
Rakakuni
Right.
arc, fuck the Rakakuni arc. That shit was so ridiculous, but just why did it work? Why did it work so
Because
hard?
Ratatouille is so good that it because Ratatouille has to be good. If Ratatouille was bad, why are we parodying something that's like, hated?
She
Ratatouille had to be loved for
she
Ratatouille to be so funny.
she had the bootleg of all bootlegs. Of all bootlegs. She downloaded ratatouille.exe Like that was just Rakakuni is crazy. But
Before we get into the next movie, I do want to point out with this movie, I really enjoyed the score when I rewatched it. It was very much more noticeable um, the second time around.
because we're score hogs, and so we sit there
I think
and
what
dwell
got
in it.
me on my this would be my fourth time around, but I didn't rewatch it for this tournament, but I did watch it for the 2022 best of. And I think what really got me this time around is the theme of circles. Like there was so many circle shapes in that movie. Every single scene, there wasn't a scene that didn't have something that had to be a circle. Even when they were in the elevator and Wayman opens the umbrella, donut umbrellas. Like there was so many circles everywhere, from the laundromat to the googly eyes to the rocks to the bagel don't, like everything. It's so beautiful. Like the details in this movie is enough to fill the Grand Canyon. And for the budget it had, for the fact that the Daniels were the only ones editing. The editing was done by two guys. Insanity to me. It's crazy how good and it works so well. You don't expect a movie that handles like timeline and multiverses like this to really do well when it's not comic books. Doctor Strange worked because we were familiar with that theme for what the comic books are. A movie like this that's just a family drama but with multiverses, how is that going to work? And it worked. It was beautiful. I love it. That's really all I have to say left on Everything Everywhere. Definitely, listeners, go back and listen to our best of 2022 if you want to hear more in depth on that, because we went crazy in depth on that. But that's all I really have to say about that one. I want to get into Goodwill, really. That's the one I want to talk about with you guys.
Man,
Did you guys?
of course.
Go ahead. Did you guys? You guys? Yeah, I know you, Sean. You just mentioned that you rewatched it because you rewatched everything and you're doing it back and forth. Jacob, did you get a chance to rewatch Goodwill?
Absolutely, that was like one of the ones that was priority for me.
Mm.
Oh, I love it. I
And
love it.
it just, I even when I posted it on my Instagram story, I said I fall in love with this movie every rewatch, like more and more. I just genuinely have a real love for this film.
It broke me again.
Yeah, same.
It's
It
just
never fails.
it's insane how well done every little detail, every little dialogue and facial detail is done in this movie. Even some of like the sound effects, some of the background scores to like complement everybody else's dialogue, everybody else's situation. It's just everything is like picked to the fucking T, done
One of
well.
my one of my favorite things that I noticed this time around watching it was how reserved Matt Damon's character really is. Will, how he really is in the beginning compared to where he ends up at the end. It's just like, I don't know why. That's one of the things I picked up and fixated on. But from the beginning, when we first finally get to sit him down with Sean, and how reserved and how snobby he tries to be towards him, like he was the other therapists,
Hmm?
and to see it not work, and it was almost like just a challenge for him to try to get this guy to not want to be his therapist. Yeah, I was
Oh, it's
talking.
actually beautiful,
Go ahead.
guys. I have to agree with you on that. That I actually fixated on that. My one of my, I would say like my third time rewatching this movie, I kind of noticed that anybody that Matt Damon's character doesn't overtly trust immediately
Yep, he
does
just
not
pushy.
share the screen with him. He does not share the screen with Stellan Skarsgård until like the very, even then they don't really, they share a space, they share the
Yeah.
scene, but they don't share the screen. You always either have Matt Damon fully on the screen or Stellan Skarsgård on the screen. Same with
Right,
this therapist, same with Robin Williams. They didn't share the screen, and then when they finally did share the screen, it's they had this pillar between them. There was this blocking shot that was between them until they finally hugged, and then they shared the frame.
right,
It's so beautiful. Like, when you meet Skylar for the first time, she's immediately in his frame. There is no shot, reverse shot, where you don't see them together. Like you can see who he opens up to by just the cinematography, and I'm gonna cry all over again because genius. It's beautiful. It's beautiful storytelling. Like I love the storytelling like that.
Yeah.
And
And that was one of my favorites of it.
I like that you brought up Skylar because I really, for whatever reason, enjoyed her character a lot more this time around too.
She was
Like I thought
lovely.
she was,
Oh,
yeah, she was just the
She
best.
loves
She was
him.
so witty and just real perfect for this fucking kid. You know, it's just
It's just crazy, like how many people was genuinely in his corner, and he just, because of his beginnings, he just did not want to accept that because it's not something he was comfortable with and something he was used to.
it's
He's even
And it's
telling her, like,
gorgeous.
great.
don't fuck with me, not you. Don't
Yeah,
mess with me. You know, I trust you. Don't lie to me. Is
it's
what
not
he
your
was telling
fault.
Robin Williams.
It's not your
Oh,
fault.
God damn. And what's perfect about Skylar is her introduction. Her first words to Will is she literally says, "You're an idiot." The smartest guy in this movie, and she introduces herself with, "You're an idiot." I love it. It's beautiful. Beautiful storytelling.
And the fact
It's
that
special. This is a special movie.
two young early 20s Boston kids wrote this movie is insane.
Put on those
That
Like
blows my
boys.
like
mind that Ben Affleck and Matt Damon wrote this film.
Good on them,
and they have
honestly.
Oscars. They have an
Yeah.
Oscar win for this movie. They're
Like
Oscar winners for this.
after I had watched this rewatched it like last week, I like ended up going down a rabbit hole and I found out that in order to get this movie made, they added a gay sex scene between their characters on like the 60th page to see who really read the script and like would agree to do it. And that's how they ended up getting Gus Van Sant to make the movie because they found out that he really read the script and was willing to do it if that's what they wanted.
Fucking dead. But they
That's
Yeah.
great.
but
He
they
was
didn't
probably
want
just
it.
reading the not your fault
No, they
all of a
just did
sudden
it to
sex
see
scene.
who
I
would
know,
actually
like who's
read it
actually reading
rather than
through.
say sure, why not?
That's so funny.
I thought that was great. And
It's
the
like
whole and the scene with Robin Williams talking about like the little details he remembered about his wife and then one of them being like when she farts in her sleep. That was like all improv. That was like holy shit. Like
But yeah,
this.
that's improv.
damn, that's insane. I didn't know that.
It's actually funny in that scene when Matt Damon's laughing. If you really pay attention, you can see the camera shaking because the camera operator was also laughing as well. Like he had Robin Williams had the set cracking up with that improv monologue. It was
That's great.
yeah, it's so great.
I
It's
wonder
so
I
beautiful.
wonder why they were
But
laughing, just
really,
because it was improvisation that they were laughing?
Yeah, probably caught them off guard.
Okay, word. Cause I was
no,
like
because
it's not
that's what it
funny.
was. When it comes down to improv like that, the director usually just tells the actor to riff, especially if they trust them like that. Someone like Robin Williams, you tell him, "Hey, I don't really have a written monologue for you in this scene. Just riff some comedy." So yeah, that's definitely
Shit.
something that would catch them off guard. Like I'll be honest, I don't think it was that funny. It was like, oh, the wife used to fart, and it's like I don't think it's that
Like
funny to make them
like it started to get
go like
progressively
that.
like funnier because like Will's still kind of a kid. But I like
No, of course.
they kept
Yeah,
making,
you'll
yeah.
find farting funny.
Yeah. I get why they went with it. But it also went completely bleak as soon as like the farting was over. He was like, yeah, but she's
And it
been
says,
dead for 2 years.
2 years,
Yeah.
2 years she's been dead. That's the shit I remember.
Oh man. Yeah, I don't know. Just
No, that's so.
the fact that that was looming behind my head, I was like, this monologue isn't funny because it just feels sad. That's
No, but
me.
it's funny because that's probably the first time he ever actually told anybody that. Think of
Yeah.
it that way.
Yeah. Besides,
Think of
yeah,
it that way.
yeah.
He's probably never told anybody that story, and that's the first time he got to open up about that
Of course. That makes
because
sense.
he's trying to relate to somebody that is falling in love with someone that he's unsure about, and it's so beautiful. It's literally beautiful. It's beautiful.
Really.
There's no other words to describe how amazing Good Will Hunting is, and I want to get to this voting. Let's
So get to it,
let's get to
brother.
this vote.
You are the man.
I'm going first. I'm going first, and unfortunately, I'm voting Good Will Hunting. I love everything, but
Same.
Good Will Hunting is my vote.
Oh,
Same.
jeez. I really thought one of you would do it, but yeah, I'm voting Goodwill Hunting as well. There's no way you make me cry and you don't get voted.
Like, don't get me wrong, they Everything Everywhere also makes me emotional, but nowhere.
I've tried
This
it, everything.
film is so much more relatable, in my opinion, at least for me in my life. So it makes it so hard to not vote for it.
Sometimes I believe the simplest things are the best things. You can get across a similar message, but at the end of the day, Robin Williams did that with Therapy in a Conversation, and Matt Damon did that with just some good support from his boys.
Yeah,
But
especially like the whole conversation with Ben Affleck.
Michelle Yeoh had to break the universe in order to get her daughter to care and to get them to have an open discussion platform. So there's just different levels to it, completely different levels to it. That's why Good Will Hunting wins, because it's simple and beautiful all at the same time.
That's one of my favorite.
And
Yeah, it's so good.
they're both relatable to the parental aspect of it. Like there is a lot with Jobu Tubaki and Evelyn
Mm-hmm.
that they can Joy. There's a lot with Joy and Evelyn that a mother and daughter can relate to, and but there's a lot of Goodwill Hunting that that lost boy that just doesn't know who he is, his identity. Like I feel like all three of us have related more to Will than we have had to Joy,
Absolutely.
even
Absolutely.
if we have related to a lot of Joy's aspect with parental. I related to Joy myself with my own father. But
Yeah.
Goodwill is a movie that will break me into tears more than everything will. In every
And,
single way.
and just the brotherhood of it too, with Chucky and Will.
Oh,
Just
he straight up reminds me of how you guys are. He just said,
I'm
"Yo,
gonna. He's like,
you're a pussy."
I'm gonna wake
That's
up
it.
50 years old and still be in this shithole, but
That's
I don't want to
fine.
go to your door and see you there.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Chucky was a
Beautiful.
real one for that one. Because he
Seriously.
accepted who he was. That was the beautiful part about Chucky is he had no mysteries, no confusion about who he was, and he was proud of it. He loved his life for the minimalistic of it, but he wanted his best friend to be better. Oh, yeah. It's a great movie that just it needs I think both need to be watched, but like if you're a guy like us, if you're this is a very quintessential bro movie that needs to be watched. So
Gotta
for
go
all
see
that and
about
more,
a.
yeah, I get
I mean, this can be
there it
watched
is.
with anything though, or anyone. I mean, sorry.
True.
Oh, of course. And it's just a great soundtrack all around. Elliott Smith. If you guys haven't, this is the third time I'm gonna say it. If you guys have not gotten into Elliott Smith yet, by the third rewatch of this movie, get into Elliott Smith's music.
Like,
Elliott Smith is
I can cry
rest in
more.
peace. So Good Will Hunting moves to the next round, listeners. Oh, this
And
is
that
getting very
also reveals the first matchup of the semifinals.
Yikes.
that would oh my
Aren't
oh
aren't those the quarters, if I'm not mistaken?
Or however it
it would
is.
be the quarter.
That
Yeah, it'd be the
reveals the
quarters.
first matchup of the next round.
Yes, the second round quarters.
Yeah,
Parasite
it would be
versus
finals,
Goodwill.
semifinals, quarters. Yeah, quarterfinals, and then whatever.
In four
I'm not really
episodes. In 4 episodes from now, Parasite and Goodwill will go up against each other. Yikes. I don't want to talk
I don't
about
want
that.
to think
It's
about
like
that right now.
That's
Yeah,
four
let's not
episodes.
think
Four
about that right
episodes.
now because
I'm definitely doing that double feature because that's interesting.
that's gonna
Hmm.
be an interesting double feature. But next up,
Oof.
we have the Lord of the Rings, the Fellowship of the Ring, the number 9 seed, up against our 24 seed, a very niche pick. I don't know how it got in there, but we do know how it got in there. A Taxi Driver.
Two adventure
So
films.
Sean, you were the one that voted in a Taxi Driver that got it into this preliminary, that got it into the tournament. I want you to start off with everything again, in case the listeners decide to skip that year. I want you to reiterate everything you loved about Taxi Driver.
So, I'm obviously the guy who 99% of the time, I can't say 100 because I just did some listens of podcasts to upload, and there was one where I didn't get a foreign watch in. Very unfortunate. I think that's 2011 Cabin in the Woods. I didn't get a foreign watch in. You guys beat me up for not watching The Raid. Um, but
Watch the raid.
Had to get a foreign watch in this year. A Taxi Driver, Song Kang Ho. It's obviously like an easy pull for me to want to watch. And you guys know that I'm not a trailer person. I'm just kind of a watch and go. Like I pick and I go and I pick and I go. I see him so happy driving a taxi. I'm like, all right, bet. Let's do it. It's gonna be some happy go lucky positive. I'm gonna rate this 5 stars because I feel good about it. Wow. Wow. Wow, 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 wow. When I was so taken aback by just the absolute masterpiece that this movie is, from story, from like just political standpoint, from acting, from journey, everything was beautiful. I'm not sure if you guys have ever heard of the Gwangju uprising before watching this. I hadn't.
Okay. Yeah, I don't
Neither
think
have I.
anyone has.
So that was just an incredible. I did a lot of research after the fact, and especially too on the second rewatch that I did for the tournament. I went through a lot of research afterwards, and it's kind of crazy. It's kind of crazy how accurate they said that this movie depicted a lot of the riot scenes in actual Gwangju. Um, Shout out to, I don't remember the actor's name at this point, but the German reporter Peter,
Yeah, it was
bro,
really good.
was so locked into this
Kind of had like a
performance.
Ray Fiennes energy to him.
Kind
I'm not
of
gonna lie.
almost thought it was him for a moment, like looking
Like he
through.
was giving me Ray Fiennes a lot.
I think he's Ralph Phineas actually. I think he's Ralph Phineas.
God, tough.
um, but I his depiction of Peter was phenomenal, really well done. I think it's just it's cheating. It's cheating. It's emotional cheating, but they put in the actual regular clip of Peter, the real life
Right?
Peter.
Right? That's emotional blackmail there. That's emotional
Ah.
blackmail. I
Ah.
didn't cry until that part. And the only reason why I cried is because he really wanted to meet his friend.
Bro, he really
It,
just
that,
he
but
went
he
through
wanted to be
almost
alone. He just wanted to forget it. He didn't want nothing. And it wasn't even
nothing to do with,
disrespect. It wasn't
yeah.
like I don't like you. He just needed to move on. He couldn't think of that, and I respect the fact that he put a fake name and he couldn't think of that incident.
Well,
But bro was really looking for you for
also
like years.
also
Yeah, that's crazy.
also definitely to the point of it was very dangerous of him to have put his real name,
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
especially
That's
in
right.
that moment. He's like, "Oh, I'm gonna get the money back to you immediately." If he doesn't know when this uprising is actually gonna end, which for a time it didn't, from when Peter left, real life probably didn't end, or the country rather didn't take full democratic, I guess, standpoint for at least another 5 years, 5 to 6 years, if I remember reading correctly. So he could have been fucking killed. I'm not sure if you remember the scene where Peter went and was actually looking for him. And the guy was telling him maybe it's not best to like look for him right now. There were guys in the background watching the conversation at a different table.
Yeah, I saw that.
No, yeah.
People,
But
people
they
were meant
the,
to look
the
for this
he never
taxi
got his
driver.
real name.
Yeah, no, he was
That was the
never
whole
gonna.
thing.
Yeah, he was never
He
gonna get
just
his
knew
real
that thing as
name.
Mr. Kim. He was
Yeah,
it. That was which is the most basic Korean name. It's like Smith. It's like
yeah.
Smith for Korean. Kim.
Yeah, he was never gonna find him. But it's good. It's good that he didn't want to be found. It just makes the real life clip in itself so much more heart wrenching. When bro just really wanted to just let all of that shit go from the years and years from not even the years, but the moments that they spent and then the years apart that they spent away from all of that. He just wanted to be able to like go to him and talk to him again and just see how he's doing and make sure that he's okay. Like we'll never know what the fuck actually happened to that taxi driver
Both
that
of those
helped him
guys are
in.
definitely passed away by now.
Yeah, I would
Rest in peace. But
I would think so. Like, who knows if he was found immediately after the fact, you know? Like, it's all speculation type things, which just makes it even more sadder in a way. But just also in the sense of the journey and even the film itself, it makes it so much more, I guess, fulfilling and so much more valuable. The experiences that they went through in order to get the Gwangju uprising to the world. So they were able to, like, I don't know, get some sort of fucking political movement in that country. I
And
think
South Korea is still really under that kind of like thumb of North Korean regime. So it's like stuff like this 40 years later still is relevant to today. It's craziness.
yeah.
I will say that
What did you think?
watching this, I think with how much you guys were like talking about it, I was like, yeah, I might not like it. I don't know. But yeah, I loved it. It was from where it starts, I didn't know what I was expecting. I knew based on, reading what you guys wrote about it and whatnot. I was definitely expecting some turn, something to happen. But the imagery shown and just the brutal and just pure rawness of it all. The scene when he's walking through the hospital and just bodies everywhere and mothers holding their children, their you know deceased children. It was just insanity. And like that's really where it like hit me. I was like, wow, like this was a real thing. This happened. It's a real thing that happened to real people. And just to see it be portrayed and brought to life and to raise this awareness to this thing that happened, and like Dan said, that's still somewhat relevant to this day. Yeah, it was sad. It was extremely sad, and it's incredible what this man Song Kang Ho can the story that he can tell just by looking at the camera. You get you
By
get
staring, just by
yeah, like
staring.
you understand what he's saying just by a look. Like he does not need to say a word of dialogue, and you can clear as day understand him no matter what language you speak. It's just a credit to his talent, and I mean, honestly, I haven't seen a bad role of his, and he's definitely up there. But yeah, I definitely was surprised by watching it. Obviously, me holding off on it for as long as I did, but absolutely loved it.
I'm so happy you did too.
No, I really I didn't expect them because you know what it is. Okay, so I watched the movie for I think the 2019, the 2021 podcast, Drive My Car, and that's what I was really expecting here with that. Where Drive My Car was a very plot driven, like character driven, but quiet, mundane film. I was expecting something like this, where you're just in, like what you said, Sean, day in the life of a cab driver, especially with the way the poster on Letterboxes messed up poster.
What you smiling at,
Just a
bro?
messed up poster of the boy just smiling while he's hanging out a window, and I'm like, all right, so this got to be something where you're like, like a comedy. I expected like some kind of comedy.
The funniest parts were
Nope.
when he was in Korean talking into the fucking windshield, like, yeah, you can't understand what I'm saying, bitch. Let's go to Gwonju. Like
That yeah,
those
that
are the
scared the
most comedic parts. He's like, you don't understand a word I'm saying, right? He's like, I slapped the taste out your mouth or something. That was like pretty much the only fucking comedy in there.
this what really struck me the most about this movie is when they got behind enemy lines for him to do the reporting, is how community everybody was, because they're facing adversity, they're facing riots and a whole uprising of everything, and it's just they're still making sure that this tourist doesn't get screwed over. That's the biggest thing about it. Or like he's making sure someone gets to the hospital. He's helping the mother get to the hospital. He doesn't accept the money just to show everybody that he's not trying to screw this guy over. there's so much about that that really gets me. And my favorite scene of the entire movie is the dinner. I love the dinner.
Yes, the
Yeah,
dinner that they
that was
had
really
after
good.
that was a good scene. He was kind of also in that was also kind of a comedic scene as well too. They were all just what the young
Singing
kid
and the
was
people started
singing.
singing.
They're like, yeah, maybe you shouldn't sing. They're like, yeah, I'm really bad at it too. But also the one of the Gwangju taxi driver was talking to Mr. Kim and he asked him about what the German reporter said. He like basically translated what the German reporter said, and the kid said it for accuracy. And he was like, "Wow, you really are amazing! Like I never would have guessed it." You know, they were all just having kind of a more deeper personal connection because of everything that they had
Oh
just
yeah, that was yeah, because
experienced.
they expect him to be like a goon, just like uneducated. But the
Yeah.
fact that he actually did understand some English was a
Mm.
surprise. Yeah.
Saudi money. This taxi, Saudi money. That's why I understood English.
Yeah, Saudi money.
he drove big trucks, Saudi truck. He have a big Saudi truck with that
Saudi.
Saudi money. That was good. It was just, and even the story behind him having the taxi and really where all of his money went, just absolutely heart wrenching. Even more as a
That that actually broke my heart.
even
That
if it's
actually
a
broke my heart of why
fictional
he broke it.
yeah, even if it's a fucking fictional like plot point, because really not a lot was known about the actual Mr. Kim. Even if it was like a fictional plot point, it's still a really like deep cut and really sad for him because it speaks to a lot of the temperaments that he had throughout the movie, and especially a lot of the ignorance too. Of course, he's gonna be like shut away from a lot of the shit that's going on, considering his situation.
A lot of saluting, a lot of nationalism, a lot of, well, maybe if people didn't, act like bums, they wouldn't riot. But then he finally saw what it was really looking like, and it's an eye opener.
Yeah,
And breaking down in Korean, and the German guy doesn't understand him, and he's telling the story of his life. You're just like, oh my god, like, just please let this guy get back home safe. I was actually worried for him the entire. I needed him to get home safe. I didn't care about what anything else happened. I needed this guy to get home safe.
I couldn't agree more. But I think
Jacob, anything else on? You have anybody else have anything else to say?
No, I
I
just want to point out
think
it's like
All
really
right.
freaking
So,
windy inside right now.
it was okay. I think I went through.
all right. So Jacob, get those vocal cords ready because I want you to explain to all of the listeners because this was actually your pick. I'm gonna do this a lot. I want a lot of the ones that won by the decision of the letterbox voting. I want the people that chose those picks to explain really more so why they love those movies a lot. And
Because
this
this
is
movie
a
is
movie that
perfect.
you. This movie is very much a movie
This
that
movie is
you have
perfect.
vocally said how much you love. So I want you to explain to the listeners why you love Fellowship of the Ring.
This is perfect. No notes, masterpiece. No, no. I mean, as of right now, being that I've watched Fellowship the most over the last 2 years, like for whatever reason, I find myself revisiting this one in particular. It's definitely my favorite of the trilogy. Um, and in my opinion, it's like one of the greatest prologues ever made on screen. I think that this every aspect of the film was just taken um into not account, but just taken under in so much care, whether it be the screenplay, the cinematography, the acting. It feels like everybody wanted to be a part of this project and of this world. Um, whether it be Elijah Wood playing Frodo or Ian McKellen giving an all-time performance, in my opinion, this just it hits. And the fact that this was made in what was it, 01, 02, 01, and it looks as good as it does,
Bro,
and
Total One, yeah.
it looks as good as it does. It stands up to so many films of the last 20 years. It's I'm pretty sure I said this in the episode we spoke about it, but what Raiders of the Lost Ark it would be to my dad or my parents, this is what that is for me. This is my quintessential adventure film. It's like J.R.R. Tolkien couldn't have done this himself. He wrote the book, but he could not have made this movie what the way that Jackson did. It was just it's very much like what Denis is with Dune, in the fact that this is something that they obviously care about and they need to make perfect, and it was, in my opinion. Like I said, every film was perfect. Obviously, I like more one other than the others, but it's still every film is a perfect film. Um, and yeah, it's just Middle Earth is such an interesting thing. It's never something I've been too interested in, but for whatever reason, like that, like the Game of Thrones esque, and like the even like the Elden Ring esque type of things with like these wild creatures and like trolls and golems and all these.
Fantasy, like the knight's
Yeah,
fantasy, like all the
basically,
King Arthur
like
stuff.
the fantasy stuff was never really like it never tickled my fancy, but for whatever reason, this this trilogy, it did. Growing up seeing it, reading the books when I was younger, it just worked. And like I said, like there's a reason why this won the most awards in Oscar. Not this movie in particular, but just this um trilogy overall. I think that we get some of the greatest performances of people's careers out of this. Guys like Elijah Wood and Sean Astin, and like I said, Ian McKellen. It, I guess, for me, it hits a lot more different because of the the value I hold it at, because of it being such an early part of my life, compared to if, like, for example, Sean, obviously he didn't watch it until like what, last week for the first time all the way through. So
Literally,
yeah, so obviously it's not going to hit the same when fantasy isn't really a thing that really will hit like hard when you're in your 20s, because it's not like, as a kid, it's, yes, it's fantasy, but in some weird way it can be reality, and it works. And
You have to
I
really care about the fantasy and topic to
but
have
that's the
such
thing
an
is like I don't
elation for it as an adult. As an adult, I'm saying.
oh yeah, but even then, like, I still, just even like we said, we're going to be subjective, but even objectively, like, this movie doesn't miss for me. Like, it does not miss. It's a perfect film.
no, if we're,
It's
if
do-
we're gonna actually speak objectively, like, and I watched this movie last week. Like, if we're gonna speak objectively, for some, and I don't want to say for some strange reason to be disingenuous, but just how you say it, for some strange reason, this movie holds up. Like,
yes,
it actually looks
this is a
still new. This movie looks like it
23-year-old
came out
movie.
last year. Like, it's
It's a
insane how this movie
23-year-old
looks like it came out last year.
A lot of it visually holds up. I'm not gonna say all of it. I will say a lot of it. Most of it visually holds up.
Well,
There
some of the
are.
fight sequences, yes, yeah,
I thought
Yeah,
the
I mean,
fight sequences were good. If I'm gonna be
like,
honest with you, I thought like even like looking past like the obvious issues with them, I thought like I didn't have an issue. I didn't have the biggest issue with them. I remember transitioning into Rivendell, if I'm remembering the name correctly. I remember the transition of all of that just being actually horrifying, like
yeah, because
disgustingly horrifying.
that was made on transition for a computer. That was a computer generated transition. That's not like they filmed in New Zealand, but they didn't make a castle,
but
unfortunately.
like, even still crazy. I just checked it. This movie had a $93 million budget, and it looks the way it does,
Oh, fuck out of
which
here!
is crazy. Like, with how
That's an
grand of a
indie
scale.
film today. That's an
Exactly.
indie film
Like,
today.
with how grand it is, it's insane that they made that work with. I mean, and I love that a lot of the stuff was done on location in what was it, New Zealand, you said, right? So like
Yeah.
it's I can only imagine that experience in and of itself, but to see how epic of a film that was made with, in $93 million isn't any small bit of money, but when you're making a film, that's not a lot of money. Like,
But
93 million,
but
realistically, it's
$93
not a
million
lot of money.
when you have Ian Malcolm, Sir Ian McKellen, you have Sean Austin. Like, this is a big cast.
Yeah,
Kate Blanchett, Liv
Oh,
Tyler,
Orlando Bloom, who was massive at that
Orlando
time, by the way.
Bloom, Viggo Mortensen. This is a big cast for $93 million.
And then also obviously filming on location that cost money. Yeah, again, that shows how much care was put into it from every aspect of the film, not just
Even in
Peter.
2001.
Yeah, not just Peter Jackson, not just the cast, but everybody, even the VFX artists.
Yep.
They're putting this out, and in today we're getting Quantumania for $400 million budget, and it looks like shit.
Like compare
Or
Gollum
Flash.
to MODOK. Compare Gollum to MODOK.
Exactly.
With 20-year difference is insanity.
And shout out King Andy Serkis, by the way. Like Gollum, Caesar, like this man with mocap just does not miss.
I'll compare
Yeah, not at
MODOK.
all.
I'll compare MODOK to George Lopez's Shark Boy and Lava Girl role more than any other.
And he even looked better.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Send this man to the
But
principal's
in
office.
that film, it's excusable. It's fucking 2003 when that came out, 2004.
And
Not
also,
Yeah, but also that movie was
2023.
literally written by children. Like
yeah, I was gonna say
Robert
it's also a
Rodriguez,
child's film.
his children write the script. Like
Yeah,
that's what's crazy.
I
That kind of
think.
makes me like the movie more then. Not gonna lie.
No, yeah, he
But, yeah,
let his kids write the script to Shark
I
Boy and
don't-
Lava.
I think that's dope, but that's off topic. But regardless,
Yeah,
I
I think
yeah,
to
go ahead. Which you want to speak on?
I think to its benefits, the practical effects of the movie are super fucking clean. I'm always a big fan of practical effects because we never see them often nowadays. It's honestly very rare. The Fellowship, all were phenomenal. The Fellowship 9 were fucking all so enjoyable characters. But there's also so many other characters in the movie that I felt like I was going to lose my head trying to remember everybody that we fell through and met. It's a lot of fucking
I just
people.
need to remember Pippin. That's it. Pippin's the only important one to me.
There's way too many people to just remember Pippin. That's it.
What about Second
Well,
Breakfast?
That's why you have 3 films to kind of take a handful and enjoy in each film.
And I really felt like after the second act it definitely dragged. I felt like the third act definitely dragged a bit.
Well, you watched the extended cut as well as I did, right? You watched the nearly 4-hour one.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
Exactly. Because I felt the pacing in that one as well, where I'm like, okay,
you're
this is
watching
dragging
a
just
4-hour movie.
Well then don't
Watch
make it
the regular. Watch
don't
the regular version.
don't make it the extended cut then. Don't make the fucking extended cut if there's nothing to extend. What's the point?
Well, there's
not gonna lie.
First of all,
It's kind of
these books are
you're
massive.
asking me to watch it.
Listen,
Not you, but I'm saying with the extended cut, you're asking me to watch you as an extended cut when you do that.
that's what I'm saying exactly. So you're basically saying like this is the full movie, and if you're gonna make the full movie, make the full movie like make that third act hot. 4 hour of Lord of the Rings.
You got to remember, there's still like it's got to go into theaters, and no matter 2020s to
I
in the
respect that.
2000s, nobody's gonna want to sit in a theater for 4 hours.
They never met me before. They never met
I
us.
mean, yeah, they never met. Yeah, exactly.
They never met us.
And double and triple features.
We're out here. My butt hurts. But I still thought it was an enjoyable introductory movie, and I am gonna see the other two, even without having to watch them for the tournament. Just because
I'm
it's
glad because I actually do want to get your opinion on Two Towers.
it's an open trilogy. I'm not gonna not close it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you feel again off topic as we're talking about one of the films, but you really feel the progression throughout the movies.
And I
You
got
do.
fucking cockblocked,
do.
bro. I didn't see Mordor. I want to see Mordor. I got fucking cockblocked. The journey ended right before we got there.
Mordor. Oh, yeah.
So I have to see it just so I get my fulfill. You know what I mean? My little fulfillment.
Like these movies do a tremendous job at progressing every film.
Okay. Well, I think that just leaves us with one area.
Only one thing to do, and that's vote.
Vote.
All right. So I guess So so I got more. I'm number one. Yeah, of course. Um, we talked about it, and I'm actually thinking about it. I'm gonna go with my heart. I actually have to vote Fellowship. I think because the fact of how well it holds up for a 20-year-old movie, the pacing, the acting, a lot of the visuals. As much as I love Taxi Driver's story and how it's important to history, there's really not much more to go with the movie other than story and a solid performance. As with Fellowship, there's so many different things to pull. So I have to go objectively. It's the way the mocap specifically holds up that I'm like, this is a better film wise. So yeah, my vote is Fellowship.
Yeah, I mean, I'm also voting Fellowship. I mean, I was always gonna vote Fellowship. This means too much to me. And unlike Lords of Dogtown, this film is genuinely really good.
Hey, Lords of Dogtown is genuinely really good. Fuck you.
No, but like on an objective
Yes,
aspect
I
of it,
know.
like
You
it
mean,
really
buddy?
hits on all the points it hits. It just it really does. It holds up. Like it's impressive that if like there's not many films that you can look at and say like, yeah, this still holds up. Because there's plenty of films from the '90s and the '80s that hold up, and even the early 2000s that hold up, but they look like they belong in that time period. It's the
Yeah,
way I can
that
watch this and I can, I could be coming out of a coma, a 40-year coma, and watch this and think that this is the newest film out. And
it
it
has
like,
the same visuals as The Northman. There's no difference between the way that like this film's like camera wise, like the quality. The camera quality is up there with like the same thing of camera quality today. So I
Absolutely.
definitely have to agree with how well the quality holds up.
and I think my biggest point of in voting this too is just when you sit there and have a basic conversation with somebody, even somebody who isn't familiar or as deep in with like film as we may be, there's a high chance, like 85 to 90% chance they do know what Lord of the Rings is.
Oh, My Precious is very much a known quote.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Right. My vote is all about digestibility. Now, you have 4 hours of a
You're not gonna go
23-year-old
a theatrical
movie.
cut, are you?
You have 4 hours of a 23-year-old movie
3 and
that
20 if you watch the regular version.
that 3 hours and 20 minutes, so you get a 40-minute shave off, right? Still a lot, but you have that of a movie that even to this day, like the both of you said, still really holds up visually, and not even just visually with the special effects that they play around with, but like visually with just some of the camera work, to Dan's point too. Like when he said that shit, I was like, yeah. Elijah Wood's face is very fucking clean. Like it's very fucking clean in every fucking shot. I don't know why. Like that's the first face that popped in my head when he said camera work. Was just that like innocence. You could really see the
Yeah,
youth on
that's
him, which
he's got a very
is
innocent look.
but like you can
He
you
does.
you you can
He does.
almost feel the innocence like radiate from him, and I think that's like speaks to a lot of the fucking camera work. You could almost feel the innocence on him and all of the hobbits for the most part. Um, versus the digestibility of a literal stomach turning like war film, almost in a way, like an
South
uprising
Korean.
South a South Korean revolution road trip.
It really is
In
like a road. Like it's a lot like Civil War. It's a lot like Alex Garland's Civil War.
exactly. It's South Korean Civil War or Korean Civil War. To that point, like I said, it's all about digestibility. Even with the extra 40 minutes, it's much more digestible than a Taxi Driver. I love a Taxi Driver to absolute fucking death, but that is a movie that is very plot heavy, like non-fiction heavy plot. Sometimes don't those don't really do too well. You're not gonna want to sit there and put that on. Whereas I can put on Fellowship of the Ring, and I mean it's my vote, so I will put on Fellowship of the Ring in another 4 episodes, and I will find more things to love about it. I will find more things to cherish about it. You know, I watched it off this first watch, and it was my first watch, and everybody's first watch of something is always gonna be just a blanket first face value watch. That second watch is always where you pick up on things that you didn't pick up the first time, where you appreciate things the second time around. So I'm excited for it, and I'm voting Fellowship of the Ring because of it.
Ladies and gentlemen,
All
we
right.
got him.
Ladies and gentlemen, we got ourselves a third pick, and now, Fellowship, you have beaten Taxi Driver. The last the last matchup of today's
It's two
episode.
family-friendly movies.
Two very, very family-friendly movies. I would watch them with the whole family, and that's our number 8 seed, The Handmaiden, and our number 25 seed, American History X. Now, like with the both of yous, where I wanted to get a lot of
Digestible
your
films.
opinions. I wanted to get your opinions on each of both. What made you choose Taxi Driver and what made you choose Fellowship? Well, this was my pick of 2016. This was the film that I decided to vote on, and that we went to the letterbox to see which one would win. And the reason why I chose this film is not just because of the way Park Chan Wook's storytelling is, but a lot of the cinematography of this film did not feel real. It didn't feel like they were filming in a real place, where almost every single establishing shot from outside of the villa to inside of the rooms felt like a painting, like a watercolor painting. And I said it in one of my reviews of this on Letterboxd, that every single scene just feels like I'm watching artwork, like I'm not watching a real location. And that is one of the things that made me lock in the most with this movie. And it's really easy to get me locked into a movie when the cinematography is just chef's kiss. But then we got the twists, we got the turns, we have the acting, and I just couldn't deny that as much as I love movies like Arrival and La La Land and Moonlight, this is what I think people should think of when they think of the word cinema. When you think of some of the best films of all time, of the last 140 years of filming and over 185 sovereign nations that have made movies, this this is one of them. This is it. This is one of the gold standards of film. And that's why I truly think that if we were going to do a best of 30 years tournament, to even think of not including this film would be a disservice to everything that Park Chan Wook has given to us. And that's why this is one of the greatest films I've ever seen in my life. One of my favorite films I've ever seen in my life. I've seen it 3 times, and I can see it 30 more. I love it. And that's everything that I wanted to say about this film before we start. Before I want to hear about how you guys feel about this film.
It's the most recent watch that I have of all 8 of these movies. I watched American History X today, followed by The Handmaiden before we got on.
W double feature. Are
Mm-hmm.
you okay?
No, I'm suffering. My stomach flipped upside down 2 hours ago, and I've never flipped it back up. I got a handstand for an hour, but that's besides the point. Man, it is really insane how we have two very different, like we have a tale of like family classism, and then this is like romantic classism, where we had Parasite, and then this is like The Handmaiden, where there's still a lot of that difference in the rich and the poor in this, but it is not really fought against. It's more so fought together, because they don't, or I guess they want the same things out of each other, but then they also see the horrors of everything else around them, like the to be husband, not to be TUBI, but the 2-BE, the husband to be, and like just how bad of a man he was, you know. But
Yeah, piece of shit.
real piece of shit. But yeah, it's just insane to see the themes compared to our number one seed, and especially because they're in the same bracket. But this movie was awesome. It's super fucking crazy. It's a little confusing for people. Like it wasn't confusing for me on my second watch. I remember Vanessa on the first watch because we watched it together the first time that I watched it. She said that it was like super confusing in the first half. Or I can see why it's super confusing. It's kind of a lot of information to take in that first half, really, before she not the first half, like the first act before she really starts working for the I'm blanking on her name, but before the love interest of one starts working for the other. I forget everybody's names in this.
No, I know
And I just
what
watched
you
it.
mean. It did take me my second watch to realize what happened. Well, I don't remember her name, but I know because there was what it was is it was a twist within a twist within a twist. The guy was conning the girl, but he was also conning the other girl, and then the other girl was conning him, and then the two girls were conning that guy together. There was so many cons. Like everybody was screwing over each other, and you couldn't really keep track of any of it.
But
So I totally get it on that.
second time I had no problem. I mean, first time I had no problem either, but second time I had even less of a problem. I still thought it was really, really, really good. Now, the one thing, I'm gonna talk about it, I guess, but just the blatant fucking sex scene.
Oh, I knew you
Was
were
it
gonna say it because I hate it too. I do.
was it really like that necessary? Or are people just fucking
No.
horny? Are people just
Uh,
super fucking horny nowadays?
I just think that the difference is that in United States, these big studios have a huge say in what is put in a film, and in another country, there's no big studio to get in the way of a director's film, so they
Yeah.
can pick and choose and do things however they will, which I think is a big reason why so many of these South Korean films are as crazy and as wild as they are. I mean, you look at The Handmaiden, Old Boy, Decision to Leave. Like, this shit's not getting made in a United States studio.
Parasite.
Exactly. Like, those things aren't getting made by Lionsgate, Paramount. It's just that's not happening. Um, but yeah, I mean, I don't think it was necessarily necessary. Um, but if not that sex scene, what else would there was going to be something probably regardless of the fact.
Just cut it. Just cut it. The hour was
It's
it was
no, no,
still it,
it's not even the fact of the sex scene. The sex scene wasn't the issue. It's the length of it.
yeah,
Like
it's long.
they dapped up. Like they dapped up in there. Like if they haven't seen each other in forever, and it was like ridiculous. Like,
It's
but I get because I I guess look at the way Portrait of a Lady on Fire with the way they did their love make. There wasn't actually a real sex scene in Portrait of a Lady on Fire. They implied that they had sex. They showed you that there was an implication of sex because these two women are now laying in bed together naked, drawing each other. Like that's the implication of romance. But with here, you're literally seeing full on scissoring, sweating, heaving bodies. It's a little much, just a little much.
I will
I'm
say,
not trying to be a prude.
while it is a little much, I will agree with that. I do think that it was shot beautifully.
it's the best
It was, yeah.
the best cinematography I've ever seen in a porn video in my life. You know?
It was definitely the best shot porn film ever.
And I watched Tyga's Rack City, So trust me, I have all of the knowledge of cinematography of porn. No, I'm kidding. I'm
Yeah,
kidding.
it's definitely I put it above Nail and Palin.
That was
Um,
unlocked vaults in the back of my skull that I forgot that
but
I had.
I do just want to add that I think that now, granted, I'm not my Hitchcock bag isn't that deep. I have like 2 films under my belt, but obviously he's known as like the master of suspense. I look at Park Chan-wook as a modern day master of suspense.
Oh, 100%.
Agreed.
100%. With especially with Decision to Leave, he has long established himself as like the next Hitchcock.
Yeah, I
People
think
just have to catch up. Like we're already caught up.
he's so good at building tension
Absolutely.
in his films. But yeah. Anything else?
Nope.
No, I got nothing else. I definitely want to hear your guys' opinion on, especially with this new recent rewatch. Your guys' opinion on American History X, and what do you feel about the relevancy with it today, especially with the way, like, stuff like today was just Eric Gardner's 10-year death anniversary from when he was choked out. We have all this talks with like George Floyd and all that stuff. So with the relevancy of American History X, what do you guys feel about the rewatch, seeing it?
This movie is incredibly acted. Holy shit, it is just tough to watch.
Tough
It
is a
is true.
fucking understatement.
The black and white scenes are very tough to watch because obviously those are the past.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ, man! Like from the beginning with the whole curb stomp to
Stop. That shit wasn't in the beginning.
like no, it was near the beginning.
Brother, I just watched that shit. That shit was.
So they did it twice. They did it
Oh,
twice.
okay, yeah, they did it twice. I feel like the lead up to the second one was so much more. Yeah.
You
Yeah,
didn't
because that's why
see
he
the
was in
curb
jail.
stomp yet.
You didn't see it until it got to the second part, and then you see him hit the doll, or you see him hit whatever they.
The slow motion, yeah.
I feel like at that point, even if it's for it cuts, you're still getting every bit of it. You're still getting that insane fucking like gut dropping
Especially if you
moment.
know it's coming. That's the whole thing. Is this isn't a first time watch for us. This is a rewatch for us. So it's like we know that curb stomp is coming. So even seeing the setup of it is like
But
ridiculous.
even then, that like to me wasn't the hardest scene to watch. For me, the hardest scene for I don't know why, for whatever reason, it just really low key bothered me was the supermarket scene.
Yes.
That shit was
Yes,
fucked
that was
up.
my hardest
Yes.
That
rewatch
it
scene.
was
Yes.
so fucked up. Every bit of that scene
Absolutely.
was so fucked up. I was like, holy shit. Like it is crazy.
They were like
because
throwing like oatmeal and milk on her face and
you said here
cracking
now
eggs
you
on
can
her
get a
face.
better job and shit. I was like, holy shit.
Now you can get a white woman job. That was brutal. Brutal.
All of it. They were ripping up the bags of beans
Yes, it was
over the
hard.
Hispanic
It really is a
guys.
hard.
Like shit was fucked up. And then it the black and white scenes are fucked up. But I believe the black and white scenes only make the in color scenes
More
a lot
meaningful.
a lot more meaningful
Yeah.
and a lot more emotional because you know it's everything that shouldn't be happening. You know, like
Yeah.
in the color scenes is more like damage control by Edward Norton. I'm fucking blanking. I'm really bad at like fucking character names today.
Edward Furlong.
There's like
No,
something Vineyard.
Derek.
Derek.
Oh,
Yeah, like Derek
yeah,
Vineyard.
yeah.
Derek Vineyard. No, I wasn't
I will
talking
say
about
there's one
Danny.
of the scenes in black and white that I did enjoy a lot was the basketball scene where Edward Norton kind of cooks them in ball. I don't know why. I just thought that shit was cool.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
My
You thought
man is
the
cheering for the white.
you thought the cinematography of neo Nazis cooking some dudes in Venice
no.
was
We have
good.
You have to give it that
Because
it's
he had a point to prove.
intentional cinematography. No, but
The fact that they
you are
made
also
it, yeah,
feel that way.
yeah. I know they
You're
with the
supposed to
music.
see that.
With the music that they put in everything, I watched it today and I thought to myself, like, bro, you guys are literally trying to
It's supposed to feel
elate.
triumphant.
Yeah. You guys are trying to make this like an elating moment. Like, brother, do you not understand? But that speaks to the movie's like brilliance, though. But yeah, I get it. Jacob's everything like that is what the movie wants you to feel. And I stepped outside of it and was like, wait a minute, these guys are still Nazis. I was like, what?
Get why you feel that way.
I was like, why are you guys trying to do that? I was like, well, I see what you guys are trying to do. Why are you trying to do that? Yeah, it is very uncomfortable.
And that's funny with the cinematography.
Oh yeah.
You're supposed to feel that way, especially when you have the black and white scenes. You're supposed to know, yes, they're doing they're shooting it in black and white because it's a flashback, but it's also look at it in black and white. Look at what's actually happening without any color around what you're seeing, and then see the present day in color. You fill in your own blanks. You're supposed to know your own way. Like, but it's such
It's bigger than
beautiful
black and white.
cinematography and storytelling.
Absolutely.
Like that's what I love the most about it.
Yeah. It is uncomfortable seeing some of your
But I think my favorite. What's up?
I was saying it is uncomfortable seeing some of your favorite actors dropping the hard ends. Like what was it? Bulk? Feruza?
Oh,
Faru?
Ethan Suplee.
Yeah.
Oh, the big fat
Yeah,
guy.
Ethan Suplee,
bro, he's
Edward
more
Norton
into
even.
bodybuilding now.
Everybody was dropping them like crazy. The chick from The Craft.
Oh, Waterboy.
Yeah, well, she was also in
Um,
Waterboy too. I'm weak. Yeah, she was his girlfriend in Waterboy. Oh my god.
that's that's Vicky Valancourt. That's good
Yeah.
old Vicky Valancourt.
Yeah, everybody was dropping
She's
the
also in
hard
Almost
ends.
Famous. She was in Craft. Yeah.
I wonder how uncomfortable it is for the actor at that point. Like, like obviously you know she's acting, but not even doing it. I know. I bet like doing it in the moment, you're probably like, ah, fuck it, whatever. It's going to that first night premiere and sitting in the middle of the movie theater, surrounded by your family and friends, and you're just the biggest racist piece of shit of all time. How do you, how do you step on the red carpet after that? Huh? How do you look at people?
Well, I can't speak to this movie,
You
but
gotta look at it as a
actually, a
job.
fun Django Unchained is Leonardo DiCaprio was halting production while filming because when they were filming, he legit couldn't say the N word.
Hmm.
And like Samuel L. Jackson had to pull him to the side and tell him, "Yo, you better do it. Like, do it. Like, just stop it. This is just normal for us. Do it."
Yeah.
And
It's
Leonardo DiCaprio couldn't say the like he was having a really hard time being a racist.
rough.
I don't know about Edward Norton. He was probably loving it. You never know. Like he's a method actor. He was probably enjoying it.
Yeah, Edward Furlong was like a teenager, so he was probably eating it up.
Oh,
Oh,
he was
fucking
just collecting his
bad.
paycheck. That was for him.
That's so funny. He was really influenced, hard bodied.
And it's unfortunate how it ends, you know.
Fucked. Yeah.
So
Uh,
it's such a sad and bleak ending, but it's so necessary for the message of that hate is baggage.
Hmm.
And it sucks just being pissed off all the time. Don't do it. Just
that
you know,
shit, yeah.
it's
And but
disheartening.
it's hard though. It's hard though not to do it when that shit starts far beyond your control. Like you think they thought Derek was Danny's influence when really the fucking dad, the firefighter, was Derek's influence more so. Like that, he planted the little seeds in both him and Danny. Danny watched and observed, but he heard all of it and he knows that the start of it is there, 1,000%. It's wild. You're muted, Dan. Go ahead.
I think he cut out.
No, no.
It kind of
Oh.
sucks. It kind of sucks because what you were saying with that, where like Danny did kind of notice what Derek didn't, with the father planting those little breadcrumb seeds, him
Mm.
having that realization and tearing up for the first time in the movie, where he actually
Felt
cries for the
remorseful.
first time. It's like,
Yeah.
wait a minute, my dad really spoke like this. It's a realization that breaks your heart if you ever related to it. And I hope nobody ever has to know what it feels like to look back on a moment like, damn, my father was racist. It sucks.
Yeah. And it's fucked up that he got all of that realization just one school day too late.
Hmm.
That's the shit. Is
Way
like
too
you
late.
need to start as early as possible, or not even try to play damage control in the first place, and just don't be a hateful piece of shit. But I think, I think The Handmaiden and American History X. I'm not sure if you guys agree, but we have discussed enough of both of these
So are
films.
we ready to give a little vote on this?
Absolutely.
All right. So I guess as always with the we did a wheel turn. None of you guys saw, but I'm voting first this entire little episode. So My first vote, you know what? I'm gonna have to go with my heart on this one, and my heart does say American History X. I definitely think that this is a film that is so important to today, especially with the fact that none of it is changing, and we're still in the same fucked up. We're still having the same conversations that they had 30 years ago about Rodney King that we're having today about George Floyd. The fact that history is still doomed to repeat itself and these talking points even more relevant today with our current presidency and maybe next president. Yeah, I got to vote American History X on this being the better film.
Yeah,
Plus, it had a shorter sex scene.
Okay.
it
Uh,
did. It did.
well, I am on the opposite side of the spectrum as I am choosing The Handmaiden. Um,
I
I
like it.
just think
I
that
like it.
when it comes to filmmaking and overall, again, I mean, granted, subjectively, I think I'd prefer The Handmaiden anyways. Um, and I do agree American History X is an extremely important film, but I also think that there are a significant handful of films that touch on this topic. Um, even more, recently with 2018's Blind Spotting or 95 Strange Days. There's plenty of films that touch on this topic, and I think that an overall spectacle and an aspect of a film, I think The Handmaiden really is truly impressive, and it is, while yes, it's a foreign film, I feel like it's more digestible. We're on that word a lot here. Um, than
I
American
will
History
agree that
X,
this is a more digestible film.
and it's more fun because you're getting a twist. This, it's that's the way I look at it.
Uh,
No, no,
Man,
I get it. I do.
I was truly not expecting to have to be a tiebreaker. I'm not sure if y'all saw my reaction to that, but as soon
The
as you
first
said The
tiebreaker.
Handmaiden, I fucking was like, holy shit, there's
Oh,
no
you thought
way
I was
we.
gonna go American History X?
Not even, I didn't know what you were gonna go. I was just in the sudden realization that it wasn't a three piece like the first three were. I was just like, holy fucking shit, we have a
I'm
tiebreaker
actually
and I have to be
Oh
surprised that
the.
yeah.
you didn't go Handmaiden.
I mean, no,
But
I
I also
understand.
I'm genuinely surprised at not a lot. The first two I was kind of expecting, but I'm surprised that uh Fellowship was a three
Was
way.
a three
I
way?
genuinely thought Taxi Driver was gonna go there.
That one was a real surpriser. I'm not gonna lie. That one was a real surpriser.
Yeah, I figured you guys didn't expect me to vote
I
Fellowship,
definitely didn't expect you to go Fellowship,
but
Sean.
Fellowship
But honestly,
against.
I didn't expect Dan to go Fellowship either.
Yeah, because of how he rated, especially because he has it rated higher than Fellowship, Taxi Driver. But
But I think that's the benefit of having these, little conversations before we do this is,
you figure things out
Well,
and you
no,
get your
the whole thing
emotions and your
about Fellowship, I
feelings.
did realize when it came down to the cinematography was just like there's something special about a fact that a film can age,
Hmm.
cannot age for 20 years, as well a film that's just it looks like it just came out like it's there's a whole difference of it. But Sean, you still have to vote.
Yeah, I know. That's fucking
I
insane.
was trying to buy him some time.
I know. Thanks. Okay. Well, considering I watched both of these movies today, you'd think it'd be really easy,
I feel like that
but
would make it harder.
exactly, it's actually extremely hard. With that point, sex scenes aside, there are two very clear and distinct, but also differentiating messages that both of these movies have. With that being said, I think that I agree with Jacob when he says that there are a lot of movies that touch on this topic in a much better light and a much better not much I wouldn't say
None
better,
of
but
which you voted in, like Lahane.
a more fulfilling standpoint,
Or
definitely.
just more digestible.
A more digestible, like, yeah, this is like a Stephen King novel printed into, or not printed, a
Do you
Stephen
think
King script.
that even if it's that like what's the word I'm looking for, but like satirical
Yeah,
of a
it's
even that
Oh,
satirical of a racial drama?
it's no. I meant more so
Because
of
they
how
just like a Stephen
I
King.
meant the frequency. I totally when I meant that I just meant the frequency of how often you have to hear that shit and how often like it makes up a good chunk of the script. It may make up like maybe less than 50% of the script, but even 45% of the script is still a lot of the fucking script. With how short this movie is too, it's not like a long fucking 2-hour film either. So yeah, it is very hard to digest both visually and audibly. And I think I can take like a, prolonged sex scene over it. So I'm
You can
voting
always just
that.
fast forward the sex scene.
Yeah, exactly. I'm voting the Handmaiden. Yeah, you could always just fast forward the sex scene. Prime has a little
Wow.
box.
And there we have it.
You can see where
We
you're
have our
forwarding.
winner for the and fourth and final choice of matchup of today's round, the first round. We have the Handmaiden beating American History X. So guys, we have Parasite, Good Will Hunting, Fellowship of the Ring, and the Handmaiden have all made it past this first round.
Trivia.
And now we have
Wow.
the second round, two of the second round matches set.
Can we a little fun tidbit here. It's so funny that this man Daniel, he voted the Handmaiden into the tournament, and
But
then
then
here we are voting him
And
out
didn't vote
of
in
the
the tournament.
out of the Handmaiden. Like how hilarious is that it still survives based off of just the matchup that it lands in. It's kind of crazy.
and it's got an interesting matchup.
The
The next
next
time we
one,
see it.
yeah,
And
Yeah.
it's probably gonna be one that I vote again. Like I'm probably not gonna vote against this again. It's just when I'm looking at the way because I rewatched both of these not too long ago. When I look at it, it's like when I want to tell somebody you have to watch this film, I don't. If my mother has never seen any of these two films, I don't think I'm gonna tell my mother to watch The Handmaiden. I think I'm gonna tell her to watch American History X. That is probably one of the biggest things of what would I tell my mother to watch?
I see what you
Would I
mean.
tell my mother to watch Fellowship or would I tell my mother to watch Taxi Driver? It's like what would I tell my mother to throw on at that moment?
I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't want
It's
my
odd.
I don't
It's
want my
odd.
mom to watch guys getting curb stomped or sexually assaulted
I
in the
wouldn't want my mom to watch a
urinals.
lesbian sex scene.
Yeah, well, it's either a lesbian sex scene or a forced sex scene. So you make up your thoughts on the accord.
You know what? You know what? You didn't. You know what? You got a there, sir. You made a very strong argument. I enjoy that argument.
Oh my gosh.
Take that into consideration.
But in 4 episodes from
But ladies
now,
and gentlemen,
yeah,
we
it's
have
gonna be
now done it.
crazy.
Our first round is done, and I cannot wait for the next three to go. But the only way for all of you beautiful listeners to know what the next picks that we make are is by following us on all of the social medias that have the SofaBros podcast. We're on Twitter, we're on Instagram, we're on TikTok, we're on Spotify, and we're on the Apple Podcast app. New episodes every Sunday morning at around 7:30 and until then, everybody, the bell has rung. This has been the tournament of the round one, and class is dismissed.